Episode 5 opens with a strange kind of quiet, a calm before the emotional storm. Belly and Jeremiah are laser focused on final wedding details, and there's this false sense of peace hanging in the air. It's the kind of peace that feels off, forced, as if everyone's pretending things are okay when deep down, they're all on the edge. Laurel has agreed to attend the wedding, but she's barely speaking. You can feel the tension in her every word, her every glance. She loves Belly, yes, but she's watching her daughter walk into something she doesn't believe in, and it's breaking her. Meanwhile, Conrad is trying to play the role of the supportive brother, the co-bestman, but it's clear he's barely holding it together. His smiles are short-lived, his eyes give him away. Every time Belly walks into a room, every time Jeremiah says, "I can't wait to marry her," you can see something shatter inside him, and yet he stays. What's so brilliant about this episode is that it doesn't rely on big arguments or dramatic outbursts right away. Instead, it uses silences, lingering looks, awkward conversations. Every interaction is loaded. You can tell. Conrad is watching Belly so closely not because he's jealous, but because he's worried. Worried she's making a choice she doesn't fully understand. Worried she's rushing. Worried she regret it, but also scared to say it out loud. Because if he does, he risks losing her all over again. And Jeremiah. For a moment, he seems like the only one who's fully in. But even he starts to wobble. The pressure, the pace, the unresolved tension between Belly and Conrad. It's all starting to crack through his perfect groom facade. Then comes the real shift. Belly gets a letter. It's from Susanna. A letter she apparently wrote years ago, meant to be opened, right before Belly's wedding. And just like that, the emotional center of the show is back in full force. Susanna's voice is soft, loving, but also brutally honest. She tells Belly not to settle, to choose love that makes her feel alive, to be brave, not just loyal. Belly reads it alone, but it hits her like a truck. You can see her whole face change. It's as if she's being reminded of the version of herself she lost somewhere along the way. The one who believed in magic, in passion, not just security. And here's where the writing gets clever. Because instead of having Belly instantly panic or dramatically call off the wedding, she buries the letter. She hides it. From Jeremiah. From herself. And tries to pretend it didn't just shake her entire world. But we know better. From that point on, everything she does feels off. Her smiles are a little tighter, her words more careful. She's going through the motions. Everyone can feel it. Even Taylor, who tries to pull her aside, sensing that something's not right. But Belly brushes her off. Because what is she supposed to say? That she's about to marry one brother while still haunted by feelings for the other. As the wedding day inches closer, the energy shifts from awkward to almost suffocating. Laurel is distant, Stephen is walking on eggshells, and Conrad, he's completely unraveling. There's a moment where he's alone, staring at the ocean, and you can just feel the weight of everything crashing down on him. Not just losing Belly, not just watching her marry someone else, but the guilt, the regret, the fact that, deep down, he knows he pushed her away on. Now, he's watching the consequences unfold in real time. Still, he doesn't leave. He stays. Helps decorate, smiles when he has to, cracks a joke here and there, but inside, he's breaking. And the moment that pushes him over the edge, it's not a big scene. It's a quiet one. He finds Belly's shoes by the stairs. The same ones. She wore that summer, the same ones from their summer. And he just sits down, holding them, not crying, not yelling, just sitting completely still. Because sometimes, heartbreak doesn't explode. It just sits with you, silent, heavy, and endless. By the time the pre-wedding dinner begins, everyone is pretending, smiling through gritted teeth, laughing at the wrong jokes. But the tension is boiling. You can feel it. The storm is coming. And when it finally hits, it won't just be a fight. It'll be a reckoning. The morning of the wedding arrives like a dream Belly once had, but can no longer recognize. The sun is out, the decorations are perfect, the dress is ready, and yet nothing feels right. There's a heavy stillness in the air. It's the kind of day that's supposed to feel magical. But instead, it feels like waiting for something to go wrong. Belly walks through the morning like she's drifting, her face glowing on the outside, but her eyes giving her away. Taylor sees it, Laurel sees it, and most painfully of all, Conrad sees it. Jeremiah is the only one clinging to hope, trying to keep everything light and happy. He jokes with Stephen, gets hugs from the family, and does everything to keep the energy up. But even he knows, deep down, that Belly is slipping away from him emotionally. He can feel it. And as much as he wants to deny it, he's already starting to notice the distance. The way she avoids eye contact, the way she hesitates when he talks about their future, the way she holds his hand but not too tightly. Laurel watches her daughter with a mix of pride and pain. She's here. She's trying, but she knows this wedding isn't happening the way it's supposed to. She knows Belly isn't ready. She knows this marriage is rushing a healing process that hasn't even started. But she also knows that if she pushes too hard, she'll lose Belly completely. So instead, she waits, watches, and prays her daughter finds clarity before it's too late. The first crack comes during the bridal prep. Belly gets a call Susanna's sister. She just wants to wish her well. But the moment Belly hears Susanna's name, she breaks. Not completely, not publicly. But something shifts inside her. It reminds her that Susanna isn't here. That the wedding isn't a continuation of that beautiful summer they once shared. It's a goodbye to it. A final, irreversible step away from the past. And Belly suddenly wonders, is she ready to say goodbye to all of it? Including Conrad. Meanwhile, Conrad is pacing. He tries not to be seen. He helps set up chairs, arranges flowers, anything to stay busy. But nothing is helping. Taylor corners him. She's not smiling, she's not joking. She tells him, plainly, that she saw the way he looked at Belly the night before. That she knows he's still in love with her, and that if he's going to ruin this wedding, he better be damn sure about it. It's a confrontation he wasn't ready for, but one he needed, because up until now, Conrad has been swimming in guilt and grief. But now, he's faced with a question. If you still love her, what are you doing just standing there? The ceremony begins. Everyone's seated, the music starts. Jeremiah stands at the altar, trying to smile, but his hands are shaking. Conrad takes his place beside him, silent, tense. And then Belly appears. She looks beautiful, yes, but her steps are slow. Her expression is not the one of a glowing bride. She walks down the aisle like someone walking into something they don't understand. She sees Conrad, he looks away. She sees Jeremiah, he smiles. But his eyes are searching hers for something, for certainty, for love, for anything real. The vows start. Jeremiah speaks first. His words are sweet, honest. He says everything a groom is supposed to say. But Belly, she hesitates. And in that pause, everything falls apart, because she looks at Jeremiah. And then she looks at Conrad. And then she says, I'm sorry. Not loud, not dramatic. Just soft, heartbreaking, devastating. The guests are frozen. Jeremiah doesn't understand. Not right away. But Conrad, he knows. He's already standing, face pale, heart racing. Taylor covers her mouth, Laurel's eyes well with tears, and Belly. She turns and walks away. Down the aisle, out of the ceremony, away from the wedding, away from both of them. Jeremiah doesn't follow. He can't. He just stands there, broken. And Conrad? He doesn't chase her either, because for the first time, he's not sure she wants either of them. Outside, Belly breathes. Really breathes. Maybe for the first time this entire season. The weight of the wedding, the pressure, the expectations, they're all off her shoulders. But in their place, emptiness. She's not happy. She's not relieved. She's just lost. And that's what this episode did so brilliantly. It didn't give us a love triangle resolution. It didn't give us a wedding. It gave us the truth that sometimes the choices we make are not about love, they're about fear. And sometimes walking away is the bravest and most painful thing we can do. And for Belly, that walk down the aisle wasn't toward love. It was her first step, back to herself. Silence. That's what follows Belly's exit. Not screams, not cries. Just stunned, breathless silence. The wedding that everyone showed up for, the one that was supposed to mark a new beginning, has just ended without a single promise made. And the first person to break that silence is Jeremiah. But not with words. He simply walks away from the altar without looking at anyone. His face frozen, his hands clenched. His world, which was already shaking, has just collapsed. Jeremiah doesn't speak to Conrad, doesn't speak to Laurel. He disappears into the back of the house, slamming a door behind him, alone. Because right now, that's exactly how he feels, completely and utterly alone. And it's tragic, because Jeremiah has always been the one who loved loudly, who gave everything, who wanted to believe in the good. And now, the girl he believed in most has just shattered his heart. Not with betrayal, but with a truth she couldn't deny any longer. Meanwhile, Conrad is still standing near the altar, shell-shocked. He should feel some sense of victory, right? That maybe Belly walking out means she still has feelings for him. But instead, all he feels is guilt. Overwhelming, crushing guilt. Because despite all his silent suffering, all his efforts to keep his distance, deep down, he knows. He was the reason she walked away. Not because he asked her to, not because he did anything, really, but because his presence, his love was never truly gone. And Belly felt that and couldn't go through with pretending otherwise. Taylor finds him first. She doesn't yell, she doesn't accuse. She just says, I hope you're proud, and it stings. Because Conrad isn't proud. He's confused, hurting, and terrified. Terrified that this moment, this giant emotional detour, didn't fix anything. That instead, it broke 3 hearts in one go. Laurel, ever the observer, doesn't intervene either. She watches her daughter retreat, her younger daughter by heart, leave a boy crying at the altar, and another standing frozen in shame. And yet, for the first time all season, she doesn't try to fix it, because she knows this moment needed to happen. Belly needed to see the truth for herself. And truth rarely arrives gently. When Belly finally returns to the house later that night, it's quiet. The guests are gone. The flowers are wilting. The backyard is filled with the leftovers of a day that was never meant to happen. She finds Taylor cleaning up, furious and heartbroken. Not for herself, but for Jeremiah. You couldn't have told him before everyone saw, she asks, and Belly has no answer. Because she doesn't have one. Not a real one. She just knows that standing there in front of Jeremiah, dressed in white, she felt like she was lying. And she couldn't lie anymore. Jeremiah doesn't come out. He stays locked in a room, ignoring knocks, ignoring calls. For someone who always wore his heart on his sleeve, this silence is the loudest he's ever been. And it cuts Belly deeper than she expected. Because despite all the confusion, all the guilt, she never wanted to hurt him like this. She loved him. She still loves him, just not in the way she thought. Not in the forever kind of way. And now she's forced to face what that love cost him. The next morning, Conrad is already gone. No note, no goodbye, just gone. And Belly knows why. Because that's what Conrad does when he's overwhelmed. He runs, but this time, it's different. Because he didn't run from her. He ran from what they've become. Something so complicated, so tangled in history and emotion, that neither of them know how to fix it anymore. But Belly does find something that hits her harder than anything else. It's a small photo left on the kitchen table of the 3 of them from 2 summers ago, smiling, innocent, before things got so heavy. Before love turned into a battleground. She stares at it, realizing just how much they've all changed. And for the first time in a long time, she wonders if things can ever go back. Laurel sits beside her, silent for a moment. And then she says, you didn't just walk out of a wedding, Belly. You walked out of a life that wasn't yours. And Belly breaks. Not with regret, but with the weight of everything finally catching up. The rush, the denial, the pretending. It's all come to a stop. And now, all she has left is the truth. This fallout isn't just about who ends up with who. It's about what happens when you chase the wrong version of happiness for too long. When you ignore the voice inside you that says, this isn't right, and when you finally listen, the damage is already done. In the next episodes, Belly will have to deal with that damage. Not just fixing things with Jeremiah or trying to understand her feelings for Conrad, but facing herself, the version of her that wanted to be loved so badly, she forgot to ask herself what kind of love she truly needed. Because the truth is, this wasn't just a broken wedding, it was a broken illusion. After the wedding chaos, the world doesn't stop for Belly, but everything inside her feels like it has. The dress is packed away, the ring is off. The future she thought she wanted has evaporated into a silence that follows her everywhere. She goes, everyone has left, the guests, the decorations, even the buzz around town, but the damage lingers like an echo sharp, constant, impossible to ignore. Belly has made her choice. But now she has to live with it. And the hardest part? She's not even sure she fully understands it yet, because walking out of a wedding is easy compared to what comes next. Walking through the aftermath, Belly isn't just dealing with a broken engagement. She's dealing with a shattered sense of identity. For weeks, maybe even months, she convinced herself that marrying Jeremiah would fix the ache. That love, even if rushed, even if complicated, could be enough. But now, with nothing left to hold on to, she's left wondering why she kept trying to convince herself that it would all be okay, when it never felt okay at all. She doesn't hear from Conrad. Not a text, not a message, not a word. And that silence unexpectedly hurts just as much. Because deep down, a part of her believed he'd reach out. That now that the wedding's over, now that everything's been laid bare, he'd finally say something. Anything. But he doesn't. He disappears. And that's what Conrad always does when he's wounded. He vanishes. He avoids a maybe. This time, it's not just about his pain, it's about hers too. Maybe he's finally convinced that loving her only brings her chaos. And so, he retreats. To protect her and himself. Jeremiah, on the other hand, is still silent, but not absent. He stays at the cousin's house for days after the wedding. He doesn't speak to Belly, barely speaks to anyone, but he's there. Like a ghost haunting the empty spaces they once filled with laughter and plans. Taylor tries to comfort him, Stephen does too, but the damage has been done. Not because Belly didn't love him, but because she did just not in the right way. And that kind of truth is more painful than betrayal. There's a moment where Belly sees Jeremiah standing by the pier, staring out at the water. She wants to go to him, say something, apologize, explain, but she doesn't, because what words could possibly make this right? And maybe, in that moment, they both understand that some things are too broken to fix with words. Some silences are more honest than any apology could ever be. So instead, Belly begins to focus inward. She returns. Home tries to rebuild some kind of rhythm. She reads Susanna's letter again and again, each time discovering a new meaning. It's like Susanna knew her better than she knew herself. Knew that Belly would lose herself in trying to make everyone happy. That she'd drown in expectations, in promises, in the weight of other people's hopes. And now, finally, she's beginning to see that. Laurel, to her credit, never says, "I told you so." She doesn't lecture or scold. She simply listens. And it's in that quiet, in that acceptance, that Belly finally allows herself to fall apart. Not just over the wedding, but over everything she's been carrying. Her grief for Susanna, her confusion over Conrad, her guilt about Jeremiah, her own fear of growing up too fast. It all comes crashing down. And for the first time, she doesn't run from it. She lets herself cry. Not just for what she's lost, but for the parts of herself she abandoned along the way. And slowly, she begins to write again. A journal. Just for herself. No more pretending. No more performing. Just raw, unfiltered honesty. She writes about Conrad. About how it always felt like unfinished business. How she never really let herself grieve their ending because she jumped straight into something new. She writes about Jeremiah, about how safe he made her feel. How much he gave. How she wishes she hadn't hurt him the way she did. And she writes about herself, how lost she felt. How desperate she was to feel chosen. And how now she realizes the person she needed to choose her was herself. That realization doesn't fix everything. It doesn't make the pain go away, but it gives her something real to hold on to. A sense of direction. A promise that healing is possible, even if it's slow. Even if it's lonely. And just when things start to feel a little quieter. A letter arrives, not from Susanna this time. But from Conrad. It's short, careful, honest. He writes, "I didn't know what to say. I didn't want to say the wrong thing, but I'm here. I always have been." Belly doesn't cry when she reads it. She just stares at it. Heart pounding. Because those words, they're not dramatic, they're not poetic, but they're true. And after everything that's happened, truth is the one thing she finally knows how to handle. She folds the letter and puts it in her journal. She doesn't call him. Not yet. Because this time, she's not chasing anyone. She's finding her own way forward. And maybe, just maybe, that's the beginning of something real.